Livestream here. I'm one of the trade marketing managers, and I'm also with.
I'm Brian Trunk. I'm the Senior Manager of Global Brand Marketing for Magic.
Yeah, today we just want to cover some stuff about Eternal Masters. This is going to be releasing here in about a week, and we just want to fill you guys in on a few things regarding our draft pass, running some of the drafts, and a few ideas of things you can do with the set other than just draft it. However, today we won't be covering any of the things regarding sales or distribution, anything along that line. That's not what we're covering today, unfortunately. So we're going to give you guys a couple of minutes here just to see if we get some other people logged on before we get too far in.
Ask him if it's sideways.
Also, is it showing sideways for you guys?
Yep.
Can we get one of you guys to comment there? Yeah, small technical issue.
Thanks,
there.
Nick. Give us 1 second here. A little technical difficulty. We will get that changed out.
Yeah, sure you guys don't want to watch us that way.
Not gonna fit.
It is not going to fit.
Brian, would you do the honors and hold?
Sure. Let's see, it looks like we froze up there.
All right.
There we go. All right. Made a couple of adjustments there. We'll see if this works out for everybody.
How's that? Is that better?
Looks like thumbs up, thumbs down. Are we working okay?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Awesome. Well, first off, I want to start out telling you about our Eternal Masters Draft Pass. This is a new promotion that we're trying that it's not necessarily just to help you sell more products, but it's more about turning your actual sales into events. We expect this is going to be popular for you guys, but we want to take the pass and actually take those people that have come in and already pre-ordered and get them to come in for an event. The idea is to create more activity, get more drafts happening, and create more excitement in your stores. This is something that we're going to try possibly for other sets, but this is more of a new idea that we really want to get feedback from you guys. So for those of you that actually utilize it, we'd love to hear back from you. Definitely post on our WPN page. Send us emails, let us know how this works out for you. One of the other things too is you can also use it as a sign-up sheet. So some of you have already scheduled drafts even before we had this up and available. But this is definitely a good way to have it up. It's give you something nice and clean. And the other cool part is we actually added a spot for the winner. So whoever wins, they can kind of have bragging rights over everybody else in their pool and something to kind of talk about. Give them a little bit of a collector's keepsake, so to speak. But for those of you that haven't run drafts before, we do want to make you aware of a few things for running your first draft. I would make sure that your tables are actually set up to hold 8 players. That means sometimes you may have to rearrange things, but you want to do that in advance. So as people come in and sign up, you can get them seated immediately. Additionally, you also want to have land stations available. That's something that gets forgotten sometimes, but that will be an expectation from your players that are available. On top of that, you want somebody who's also run a draft a time or two to be aware of how things should flow, keep the cards moving, and also make sure your piles don't get mixed up. That's a very, very unfortunate but popular thing that happens when you laugh.
No one wants that to happen.
Yeah.
No one wants that to happen.
Especially when you've got lots of new people. They may not be comfortable with the structure or understand what's going on yet. So you want somebody available to be able to take care of that for them. We also want to make sure that everything's very clear and listed in advance. One of the good things to do, especially with this set, there's going to be a lot of rules and a lot of other things that don't normally occur in a normal set. You want to make sure you have everything announced ahead of time, especially on the layout of the event, how your pricing is going to go. Make sure all that's clear for everybody. So we have a very clean, good first event for you in your first draft.
Exactly.
Do you want to add to that actually as far as your draft experience?
No, I agree with what you're saying. Making sure the land, I think that's one of those things that's always forgotten, is making sure there's land available there when you're done drafting. I know to everyone that's watching, we are taking your questions as well. We have someone on the side off the screen there that is actually waiting for any questions you guys may have. So if you have questions on anything, please don't hesitate to type them into the chat screen there. And our fellow partner over here will make sure that we get those answered for you guys along the way.
One of the things too, we were talking about the lands that does come up periodically, is that some people are afraid of running out of lands, if you're doing a lot of drafts in one day. A good recommendation is actually to have the players turn in their lands in exchange for getting their prizes at the end of the event. Make sure your lands stay in circulation and you don't run out throughout the course of the weekend. Do we have any? Looks like everybody's actually pretty good. So we're actually doing well, I guess, with our communications, which is awesome. Another thing too that's come up on the Draft Pass is it's one of those things that, like I said, we are actually doing to create more activity. It's not necessarily just to help boost the sales of the product. It's definitely something that we want to create more activity. Drafts are a very good thing as far as helping you move more product and actually creating that fun new experience in the store. So if you haven't considered it, definitely go down and download it, take a look at it, and at least, give it a run and see what you think about it, for sure.
Right. And it looks like there's a few more people that have come into the stream here in the last minute or so. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually go over the topics again. And Daquan's going to walk you through the Draft Pass and how we do the Draft Pass. So if you're just joining us, my name is Brian Trunk. I'm the Senior Manager of Global Brand Marketing for Magic.
Yes, and I am Daquan Watson. I am a marketing manager with the trade marketing team here at Wizards of the Coast. But yeah, so we're talking about the Draft Pass. It's definitely a new thing that we're rolling out, and we want to use it as a way to create more activity in your stores. Not just sales, but actually converting those sales into events. The big idea is to push activity, drive more people into your store. You want to be a place for the excitement, not have the packs get purchased and then get opened at home. Anything you can do that can get them to come back in, open it up in your store, talk about all the fun things that they're opening, have a good time putting decks together, that's what you'd like to have. So this is one of the tools that can help you get that activity inside your store. But definitely it has a couple of uses. You can use it to convert those pre-orders into events. You can use it as a sign-up sheet, just as a clean, neat way to kind of give a little bit of oomph to your promotion. You can even use it as a way to encourage people who are considering purchasing product to get them to pull together and then come in and make an event of it in your store. And then at the end, it does have a winner slot that you can fill in and award it to the winner with the rest of their prizes, so they have something to take home and lord over their friends and brag a little bit.
Which is always fun to do after you win.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And for those who came in late, we did share some cool little tips that we have for running better drafts. One of the big things is make sure your store is preset for the draft ahead of time. So whether that's the night before, the morning of, make sure you have your table set for 8 positions. That's the most important thing, because nobody likes being crammed on the side of a table with 4 or 5 people to try to make the cards go around. Additionally, make sure you have land stations available. That's going to be one of the key things that gets forgotten a lot at the end of the draft. That's going to definitely be an expectation for players to fill out their decks. On top of that, you want to make sure you have a staff or a TO or judge available to kind of oversee the draft. There's going to be a lot of reading of a bunch of cards in this set and a lot of distractions. So you want to make sure the cards are moving, but at the same time you're not getting piles mixed up between players, because we've seen that happen.
It's never good.
Yeah, we've had it happen in-house, so it can happen to anybody.
Exactly.
We do our fair share of drafts in the building and still get piles mixed up.
We have a question from Eric. I'm going to give this one to you, Daquan. Is there an event named Eternal Masters Draft in WER?
There is not, actually. You just set up an individual draft and run it like you would any other draft event. I think there was a little bit of confusion on some of the pre-sign up for our events, but that was more for getting your allocations from your distributors. But there isn't a particular Eternal Masters draft event. Set it up like you would any of your other normal drafts, and then just run it as usual. But yeah.
I see a question from Dick there as well. A good question about this seems like a video on how of the correct things to do and how not to be a bad store. I think that's a great question, Dick. I think, as Daquan is saying, we're always looking for the best experience for your players that are coming into your store. And while you obviously are saying that you know these things, we just want to reiterate the best business practices that we know that we've heard from consumers of just making sure that Wizards and our retail partners are delivering that awesome experience.
Definitely. That is one of the biggest things we've seen from our WPN page, is that we're getting a lot of feedback from stores that we're able to push back out to everybody to help create those better positive experiences for the maximum number of stores.
There's a question from Callie about weight. Are you talking about packs they will buy from mass? This is not available in mass, Callie. These are only available in the WPN stores. Eternal Masters is a WPN exclusive release.
That's something everybody should be happy about.
Exactly.
So yeah, we want to take a second actually, and we actually have another Wizards employee that we can swap out and bring in here for just a second.
I'm going to step out and let Brian come on in.
Yeah, absolutely. I have my second Brian on camera today, Mr. Brian Holly, who is actually with our R&D team.
Hello, I'm a game designer in Magic R&D. I was on both the design and the development teams for Eternal Masters, so I was kind of with it the entire way through the process.
Cool, and what we're going to have Brian on here for is, this set uses a ton of different cards from a ton of different sets. And looking over the list, it's going to be a little bit confusing for some people to be able to explain to new players what's the best way to draft, what things are you looking for. So we're saying maybe you can help us out with that a little bit.
Absolutely. So Eternal Masters has a lot of different strategies and a lot of different avenues for players to pursue as they are drafting and exploring the set. There's also a fairly wide range of how prescriptive those strategies are. Some of them are a lot more open-ended, and some of them are a lot more approachable in the sense that once you kind of see the cards that feed into the strategy, you kind of know what you're trying to do. So if your players are more inexperienced and don't really know much about the set or are kind of new to drafting or Magic in general, a good thing to do might be to suggest some of the, we call them more linear strategies, the ones that once you are on the path, the cards kind of tell you what you're supposed to do. A really good example of that in Eternal Masters is the Black-Green Elves deck, where there are a bunch of just creatures with the type Elf and a bunch of cards that care about that creature type. So this tribal deck is a pretty solid way for newer players to get in, because once they see those cards, they can just kind of take the elves, take the cards that care about elves, and kind of feel good about what they're doing.
And elves are always popular.
Yep, it is definitely a popular one. There are also some other strategies. The black-red archetype of the set is kind of a sacrifice theme, where there are disposable creatures and ways to sacrifice them to get ahead in the game. So kind of pointing towards that strategy might be a good way for them to get into it. And then there are others. The green-white enchantments deck has a lot of support and a lot of just kind of easy ways to get in and then know what you're doing once you're there. But kind of the overarching theme that I'm kind of trying to get at is that in Eternal Masters there are kind of unique decks and strategies that players can pursue. And players are most often going to have a very good experience if they can kind of build one of these decks. There are a lot of oddball strategies and kind of offbeat things for players to explore as they get more familiar. Things like the cycle of Hundens can kind of give you these little side quests to pursue. And also a lot of the strategies and archetypes are not very prescriptive. Things like the blue-black strategy, for instance, is primarily a reanimation strategy, but can also just be built as kind of a slower controlling deck that wants to survive into the late game. So kind of pointing your players towards, there are a lot of things you can do, kind of look for the lines between the cards, will probably help them have a better experience overall.
It's pretty neat. It sounds like you guys actually put in some themes, very basic, that a beginner can grasp onto, but if you're an experienced player, there's kind of a little more to delve into.
Yep. It's pretty important to us that sets have kind of a wide range of things that'll appeal to a bunch of different players, whether they're more experienced, less experienced, like different kinds of gameplay.
Cool. Yeah, that actually sounds like the perfect type of information that people would need. One of the things I'd like to also mention is, if you haven't, take time to review the preview set list and actually take a look at all the cards so you're a little more familiar, be able to answer some questions for your players, and again, also be able to cover some of the themes to help direct them in the way they need to go. I guess, let's see, we have another question there. Probably next. Okay. Trying to figure out where this question is going here. Give me a second. It's a question that we said about allocation. We're not talking about that very much here. The only thing I would say is talk to your distributor and they will clear that up for you. That's nothing we can really cover here in this video. One thing I want to follow up too with is, this is the type of product that's really nice to have for other things other than just sales and just draft. Like, you can use it as a way to reward some of your players, especially some of us, if you have a store, you have that player that comes in every F&M and they're 0 for every week. This is kind of a cool thing you could toss them every once in a while and really get them excited. You can also use it for cool special events in your store. You can even use it as a way to push like a charity auction type thing. There's lots of cool, neat things that a product like this allows you to do. So definitely think outside the box with it. Don't just kind of shoehorn yourself into just the one or two small uses. It's kind of a rare opportunity, and like Trunk said earlier, it's something that only WPN stores are getting, so it's definitely something you can use to your advantage. Do we have any more questions we got rolling in here? Yeah, also, one of the things we need to tell you guys about is on our WPN page, we'd like to hear about what you guys have planned for Eternal Masters. Are you doing any special events for your release weekend? And even after it's done, we'd also like to hear about what people liked and didn't like, and any other new things you tried that maybe succeeded or failed. You know, any of that information is the type of stuff we're really looking for on our WPN page to help share with different retailers and kind of push that information back and forth between stores. Anything that helps us get those best practices, definitely stuff that we want. So yeah, unless there's any other questions, I think that just about covers all of our major things we've got here. Cool. Oh, we got a couple
The
more
question
coming
just
in.
jumped in there.
Awesome. What do we got here?
I can take that one.
Sure.
So Jonathan's question is, how well will the Eternal Masters boosters mix into a draft like Eternal Masters, Eldritch Moon, and Shadows of Innistrad? The sets were definitely not designed to be played together. We did not kind of test that format. We don't really know precisely what would happen. But if that is something your players would be interested in, it could be something that could be very fun. Stores run kind of oddball draft formats occasionally to reasonable success, but that is not the intention of the set as it is designed.
Cool. I think that about wraps it up for now.
I'll answer our last question.
You want to answer it? Sure. Let's get on.
I'll set that. So-
Brian Trunk here for a second. We have one more question that just came through, and we'll have him back on here just 1 second.
Hey Travis, I saw your question, wanted to jump back in and answer it. You mentioned, your question is, you mentioned that we should talk to our distributors about the additional EMA product, but they're going to tell us the same thing you guys in regards to one print run. Will there be more than one print run? This is a conservative print run, very similar to how we did the last two Modern Masters. So again, most of our allocation strategy goes out to, the allocation plan goes out to our distributors, and then they're able to sell it as they wish to the retail stores. At this point in time, we are not looking at any reprints for Eternal Masters. So working with your distributors or working with the retail team here at Wizards is probably your best options at getting your hands on some of that product.
Oh, we still have a couple more questions rolling in here, actually. One from Brandon. It's referencing, what do you do to prevent people from dropping from drafts? The only thing we can tell you is you can make it known up front that it's kind of discouraged because we're trying to create a fun environment for everybody and everybody would like a full draft. However, there's nothing you can really do to stop somebody from leaving a draft. Just the same way as if they had a medical emergency and needed to leave, there's no way to hold them hostage at a table. Like, I mean, you just kind of got to let them go. Unfortunately, there's not a real particular thing we can do about that. We just communicate it clearly and discourage it from happening. Another question here.
Jay has some advice. He says, Brandon, give your players the option to buy an additional booster. So
Yeah.
there are times when you open up something that's really exciting in there, and some of the success we've seen with Modern Masters 1 and Modern Masters 2 was some retailers going, hey, if you really just want to keep that entire booster, we'll allow you to buy another booster and continue and then in the draft, and that keeps your draft with that 8 people, which is ideal, which is what everyone wants anyway.
Absolutely. And that's definitely not the worst case scenario if you move more product.
And Jonathan's got some other advice in there, so it's great that you guys are having some chats.
Cool. And do we have any other questions for anybody? No? All right. Looks like we got there. Cool. Well, we appreciate you guys taking the time to come on. This is definitely one of the regular features we want to have available for you. We definitely like the communication we get back and forth from everybody, and hopefully this is useful for you guys and you guys learn something and get a few tips from it.
Great. Well, thanks for your time. It was really nice talking to you guys today.
See you later.
Bye-bye.